Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Classroom to Campus. This is that podcast that you've been listening to quite religiously for the past month and two, and we're here to guide you from your journey from high school to university or another kind of post-secondary institution. My name is Karan, I'm your host.
And I'm Muhammad, your co-host. Karan, why don't you refresh us on where we left off last episode?
Yes, I will. I was getting to that actually, but I would like to say something before that. Which includes me and Muhammad, would like to slightly apologize for the little bit of a delay in us posting. We were really occupied with some important tasks that could not have been delayed, unfortunately, which is why we're posting Thursday's episode and today's episode almost together into one combined one.
Yeah.
In terms of what we talked about in last episode, before that actually, Mom, is there something you'd like to say about our viewers?
About our viewers?
I mean, you know what I'm talking about. It's something. It's like we do it every time.
Oh yeah. If you're watching us on YouTube, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're watching us on Spotify,
Give us that 5-star review. It really helps. All right. So last time we talked about different things that can impact your credit score. And how it basically impacts you as an adult or a young adult, stuff like that. So we talked about how payment history, credit utilization, length of credit history, types of credit, new credit inquiries, and how they can impact. And we also talked about credit score ranges and how they range from basically in most skills range from 580 to 800 and even above that. We talked about the uses of credit scores, monitoring your credit report, and how to improve those credit scores as they can basically really impact you.
now let's shift our focus to financial literacy that's going to be helpful for you when you move out. So let's talk more about how you have to manage your debt. So you're going to have obviously, in most scenarios, you're going to have your student loans. Then you're also going to have if you decide to basically mortgage out a house. So you can have two types of debt. And we talked about good debt and bad debt previously.
Yeah, and then so basically let's move on to student debt. We mentioned we referred to this term, but what exactly does it mean? Mom, do you have an idea what student debt is?
Student debt is basically a debt you take or a loan you take on your tuition. So for example, tuition can be quite high, and if you can't pay it, then you can take a loan against your debt, and you basically have to pay it off every single month in small different segments.
That you can choose?
Yeah, yes. So that it's not an overload of money.
For sure. And okay, so I'll basically I'd like to rephrase it a little bit because you mentioned a lot of great things, but I think you might have also missed out on one or two. So basically, a more strict definition of what student debt is basically when you're referring to the loans that people might take to finance their education, not just tuition. Being a student in post-secondary education at an institution can be can be really expensive, but not due to the main cost of tuition. Tuition does take a big chunk of that, but staying there, managing your food, groceries on campus, life, recreation, technology, anything that you might need to basically regarding your education for undergrad, graduate school, stuff like that. That's basically the loan that you're taking. This kind of loan can come from government, so federal student loans, or even private lenders if you're unable to qualify. Mohammed, have you ever heard of OSAP?
Yeah.
What is it?
I'm pretty sure it's the support provided by the Ontario government for students who require a loan.
For sure. That's basically I think that's a good way that you covered it. So there are deadlines that are approaching soon, especially in the fall of this so it's gonna be near December, where I think you people should start applying as is the first day of set. You can also apply for OSAP once you get into university or post-secondary education for that matter. And basically OSAP is it helps you to finance your education in terms of assisting students in Ontario. In terms of more into the fact of student debt, there what if you're unable to do that, to reach out to federal student support, then private lenders are also a great option, just in case that's still like better than you actually falling into that kind of debt. Mohammed, you mentioned good and bad debt as well. What is it? Just for a recap for those that were unable to listen to episode 23.
So good debt is essentially something that has a good return on investment or ROI.
Yes.
And bad debt is kind of like the opposite. So you have to pay it back with interest, and you're basically losing money on something that you could have paid off in full, and you're not gaining anything.
For sure. So, we're talking a lot about debt, but why is it? Well, being financially responsible basically means either having good debt or ensuring that you are debt free. Mohammed, what are some ways to stay debt free?
Some ways to stay debt free include having like some money for a rainy day or like an emergency fund that basically helps people out. For example, if you don't have enough money right now and you're considering like getting a loan to help pay for your expenses, or like you've been laid off, having some money saved over for like a rainy day will help you put yourself back on your feet and not borrow against your, for example, your house or
Or other
else.
property that you might have. For sure, I think having that emergency fund is crucial. Having a debt repaying plan is also really important, as it basically, like, if you have existing debts, having a structural repayment plan can really help you, especially like when you're paying off high interest, or like when you purchase items or experiences that you can't pay for, but like now you ended up doing that because it was like a need. Also, living within your means. Mohammed, can you explain what that is?
So living between like
Within
your means is essentially just avoiding living beyond what you can afford. For example, don't go out and buy fancy clothes or like designer
like products, cars, expensive cars especially.
Yeah, and, like fancy dress.
Like, do you really need a Mercedes or like a Ferrari or something like really really expensive when you're like in like university, like you're like 18 something?
Yeah, you have to like really see your pros and cons of even owning it, since like for example, okay, you have the money for the car, you buy it, but you don't have the money to sustain it. There's a lot of maintenance, there's a lot of fuel that a supercar takes. It's not really a responsible purchase. Whereas someone who's already financially stable and financially responsible, they can afford to have that car because of the future
opportunities that they might have. And we don't mean to sound like parents, but it is true that good things come in time, like come later in time. In terms of basically in terms of maintaining a good credit, like good credit can provide access to better financial opportunities and lower interest rates. So you need to make sure that, like we mentioned this earlier, but like just in case you didn't like listen to that episode, making payments on time, avoiding high credit card balances like within the tens of thousands of dollars like in debt, monitoring your credit reports for accuracy are just like some things that, like, to name a few, that you should do. And in terms of saving goals, Mohammed, how can setting goals for short-term and long-term needs benefit people?
I think I talked about it before, but it's essentially where you have your short-term and long-term goals, which help you basically allocate the budget.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And basically
like plan it out. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
but that's it for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed our third 3-part series of financial literacy. And if you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as we talked about it before, and give us that 5-star rating on Spotify. Keep those dreams alive. Thank you.
bye.